Hello, everyone. So we got a little bit of we've got some potentially big news that could be foreshadowing what may be happening. We might be dealing with a nuclear false flag or an attempted nuclear false flag very soon, very soon. Because today, what we found was apparently, supposedly, a ship containing weapon systems from Cuba was caught, and basically the suspicion. Well, what the Cubans were trying to say, was that they were shipping some old 1960s, there was some old war, some old defense systems to North Korea in order to get repaired, and they were using a huge North Korean cargo ship, and they were apparently trying to go through the Panama Canal when they were caught. Apparently, the crew mutinied on the captain, and the captain tried to kill himself with probably a cyanide pill, and then I guess either that failed or it didn't fail, or that's what they're referring to when they said he tried to commit suicide, and that he apparently almost had a heart attack. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and read this right here. Somebody says North Korea's story is a little odd for a couple of reasons. Number one, smuggling missiles in a sugar shipment, like as there's a bunch of sugar piled on top of it. Who would believe North Korea is importing sugar to feed its people? Number two, doesn't DPRK have missile technology? Aren't missile tests something of a Kim family hobby? What do they need to import? Number three, importing missile components from Cuba. Obviously, there are historical connections between Cuba and missiles, and we all know that 1961 was only a temporary withdrawal, but why go through Cuba? Wouldn't the Chinese border be a more logical transit point for missiles? So, is what's going on here some sort of movement of, because I think it's nuclear warheads, there's rumors that it's nuclear warheads. Is there some sort of transportation from somewhere that they would need to use the Panama Canal rather than the Suez Canal, right? Because Egypt is in turmoil, so maybe the Suez Canal is currently difficult to go through. I'm not sure. But they're moving all this stuff. I don't even know who they is. And apparently this captain is equipped with a cyanide pill to kill himself. Let's see. And the crew got scared and they were willing to mutiny. Now here's an even better post by somebody, and I'll read it to you here. They link it to Fox News. Panama's president says the country is taking control of a North Korean ship that was trying to illegally sneak ballistic missiles and other arms materials from Cuba through the Panama Canal. Ricardo Martinelli said on Radio Panama on Monday that the ship, because this was, I guess this was back on Monday, on the 11th. That's basically being smokescreened by the Trayvon thing right now. Said on Monday that the ship was stopped at the Atlantic coast of the county, according to AFP. Quote, we had suspected this ship, which was coming from Cuba and headed to North Korea, might have drugs on board, so it was brought into port for the search and inspection, Martinelli said. When we started to unload the shipment of sugar, we located containers that we believed to be sophisticated missile equipment, and that is not allowed, unquote. He added that the undeclared military cargo appeared to include missiles and non-conventional arms, and the ship was violating UN resolutions against arms trafficking. So this sucker probably had some nuclear warheads on it. Supposedly this is coming out of Cuba, but not necessarily. Griffiths Institute has also been interested in the ship because of a stop it made in 2009 in Tartus, a Syrian port city hosting a Russian naval base. Griffiths also said that the Institute earlier this year reported to the UN a discovery it made of a flight from Cuba to North Korea that traveling via Central Africa. Given the history of North Korea, Cuban military cooperation, and now this latest seizure, we find this flight more interesting, he said. After this incident, there should be renewed focus on North Korean Cuban links, whatever. Now, okay, this is the guy that quoted that. He's got a very good point. He says, now what I have learned is that these containers are such devised to transport warheads without radiation signatures being detected. Only one of 5 cargo holds have been searched as of yet, so there's 5 other cargo holds. But even this article suggests that unconventional arms are aboard. So it may be the case that maybe Egypt, this is possible, it may be the case, I'm not sure. Maybe Egypt is at risk. Well, I don't know that it's been confirmed if Egypt has nuclear arms. I don't know, but I'm going to need some help from my viewers on this one to do a little investigating on this one here, because I cannot quite understand what's going on with that story. But whatever it is, it seems to be very hush-hush. Let's take a look and see if I can get you guys' comments. Talking about the North Korean cargo ship that was caught. Okay. Alright, let me take a look and see if, let me see if, I'm going to just like skim around and read this. Now what could that mean? What could that mean if nuclear weapons were supposedly, because the ship came from North Korea, it's a North Korean ship. It enters the Panama Canal on May 31st, and all of June 1st, it travels up the Panama Canal, and it supposedly goes to Cuba, but the thing is that it disabled its tracking equipment, so it was unable to be tracked. So it doesn't return until, as it says, July 11th or so. So that means about a month and 10 days. It's out and about, with no tracking equipment activated. The captain is equipped with a cyanide pill. The Panama people were tipped off that there was a ship about to come through the Panama Canal. So it seems to be that the cabal was behind the ship. The cabal was behind the smuggling operation. And now the cover-up is occurring because the cabal got caught. But why? Why was the ship, because there's no way that that this strange ship would not have been noticed by the intelligence agencies. Instead, this ship was playing a major role in doing something. Anyway, it gets loaded up with nuclear warheads, supposedly from Cuba, but probably not. So where did these nukes come from? If it's going all the way to North Korea, and if it were America, if the nukes are coming from America, why on earth wouldn't they just get it through the West Coast or Mexico, right? So these nukes are coming out of, I'm guessing, I don't know, but I'm guessing from the Middle East. And I don't know how long that takes to sail all the way over there. So if it comes out on June 1st, and it has 40 days to make its way back, do you guys think that it made its way back in that amount of time? Is there any? I think there was another. Um, I don't know. Let's see if you've got any comments over here. You know what? Let me look at Google Maps real quick, and I'm going to take a look and see just what South American countries are on the east coast of the South American continent. Oop, there's Venezuela, and he just recently kind of came out and criticized Obama. And then how long would that take if a ship sailed all the way into the Mediterranean and docked over here with either Egypt or Syria and then went back? Could you think a ship can do that in that amount of time? And then why would they do that? Well, they would do that because the Suez Canal might have been inaccessible due to the change of government in Egypt, right? Let's see. So why on earth would Russia be involved with North Korea when they practically border each other, right? So why on earth would so is Russia operating under the North Korean front? And so Russia is retrieving and or supplying nuclear arms to Cuba? No. What in the world is going on? Okay, let's see. Terry says lots of tipping off, yes. Who's Castillo? Let's see if I can find out what Castillo is. It's the Dominican Republic. Let's see if we can find any controversy with regard to the Cold War and the Dominican Republic. I don't know, this has got a lot of freelance, he says. Is oh, I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to investigate this North Korean ship thing. It's just a little. It's a little too. Must be something big with it. There's got to be something big with it. But I just don't. There's nothing I can go on. There's nuclear warheads. apparently, Captain. What I'm seeing is that the only way that that ship could have done as much as it did was if it was protected, and it had to take sheep waking up to it for it to get sabotaged. Now it was now the for it to be sabotaged is for people to get tipped off. But why on earth now? Nuclear arms. Why are you taking nuclear arms through the Panama Canal? Where are those nuclear arms supposed to end up? Why are they being moved? So, and then I guess you could just say they used the North Korean ship because they could just blame it on the North Koreans or something like that. But where are these nuclear arms originating from that they would go back through the Panama Canal? Where are they going? Where are they coming from? Where are they going? Possibly back to Russia. And then they use the North Korean ship as a front. So the nuclear arms are heading back to Russia. Why were they over there? Why were they over there? Where were they at? Were they in Cuba? I'm not inclined to believe that. I don't know. Why would Russia be recalling their nuclear arms from Cuba? So where are these nuclear arms being taken from? Middle East? Why would the Russians need such a? Okay, so Syria. Okay, so the Israelis recently attacked Russian stuff in Syria. I don't know. Oh, okay. Okay, I'll go to maps.google.com. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, east coast of South America. Now, Chile is on the west coast, so that doesn't explain why anything is going through the Panama Canal, coming back west coast side. And then why would you even bother if you're doing something, if you're transporting stuff out of Chile, you would just go around the southern horn. I don't know. I don't see how Chile plays a role in this. Terry, well, I don't even know why you just don't tell me if you're gonna. All right, let's see. Yes, good. Why are they moving? Why are they moving? They aren't recalling them from Cuba. They're giving them to Cuba. It was heading back into the canal, though, and they had given Cuba some new nuclear devices, and they were taking the old ones back. That's just really. I mean, how, of course they're going to get caught. Of course, I don't even understand. Like, is this setting up a nuclear event or something? Or I don't know. All right, let's see if what we got here. I'm just going to read this out loud. Remember that North Korea, perhaps even the ship, brought a plutonium reactor to Syria, and it got bombed to hell. The cargo at that time was cement. It was brought to Tarsus. It was brought to Tarsus in 2007, or Taurus. This is from the wiki for some background. 2001, the Mossad. Says frightening. Pentagon report warns that China, North Korea, and Iran will soon be armed with nuclear missiles capable of striking the United States. All right, guys, I'm sorry. I'm trying to. Oh shit. Oh shit. Now. Okay. So stuff. How does the yeah. So I guess you're suggesting that possibly the ship being caught in the Panama Canal was a smoke screen sort of thing for another transfer of nuclear arms from across the Mexican border. That there's potentially a nuclear false flag to occur in the United States. I'm sorry. That I got, or okay, so Terry, you may as well say it, Ombre. You've got it all. You've got your theory all over the comment section here. That I've always wondered. I've always thought that to be the case. That there would be a nuclear bomb smuggled in from Mexico into a U.S. city. That would be the official story, and the bomb would be set off, and it would appear. Oh, they're setting up. They are setting up why the energy signature from the nuclear device will be coming from another location, and that it will be like as a result of the ship being caught with nuclear devices or something like that. So, what do you think of that? Well, if it's a decoy, it's a decoy, right? And there's nothing important about it. But it would, I don't know. All right, it's probably incredibly important, but I just do not understand. I do not understand it. So I'm going to go ahead and spend the last half of the hour talking about some of this other stuff, I think. Let's see. Okay, so I guess we'll talk about how Sarnev ended up on the cover of the Rolling Stone magazine, and this is actually a way of playing off of what happened with the James Holmes case, because when James Holmes showed up, a bunch of groupies on the internet sort of just liked him, and so you can draw a parallel between Dzhokhar Tsarnaev and Joker, because if they're doing this, what they're doing is drumming up conspiracy theorists. They're trying to get conspiracy theorists to come out of the woodwork. And one of the ways to do that is to possibly attract fangirls into that sort of thing. And the Rolling Stone appears to have been willing to play as though it is an alternative media outlet, at least in the past, sometimes lauding conspiracy theorists and, having something to do with the Michael Hastings report that ended up getting McChrystal, to resign or something like that. So I'm not sure what all Rolling Stone, why it's like that for Rolling Stone to do that, but that seems to be the case. Apparently, we're in bizarro world now. Like everything really just seems like anybody watching the news and seeing how Snoop Dogg and seeing how Will Smith and just a number of like up there celebrities could be so wrong, because when you look at the actual case, I already know that it's fake, and so maybe that has to do with something about people picking up stuff fishy about it. But when you honestly look at the official story of the case, and the evidence and everything, it quickly becomes apparent, because the mainstream media is just falling back on the jury. The mainstream media is basically just kind of like, the jury found him this, and the jury found him that. And, just forget about what the jury is saying. What the jury found is whatever. It's like, just look for yourself at the evidence, okay? Like, apparently, I don't even want to go through the evidence, but if you look at the evidence yourself, what you'll find out is that Trayvon Martin was on top of Zimmerman, beating him up, and it was probably Zimmerman's voice that was screaming, according to the official story. And at that point, it's obvious that you have the ability to kill that person, right? It's kind of like you were just getting your ass whooped, and it's like, no, you don't know if by getting your ass whooped, at what point that will stop, or whether or not you're going to die from the next punch or whatever. It's like you're not supposed to, nor are you supposed to just get your ass whooped. All right, whatever. Let's see. There's some pretty interesting stuff coming out of Zbigniew Brzezinski. Zbigniew Brzezinski's kind of interesting because he parrots what the mainstream sort of top dogs are thinking. It's like he's the good face of the insiders. What did he say here? He's saying that basically the white people need to gang up and be careful because it looks like China is going to end up controlling the trade. So he said, quote, in Western Europe today, there is a dearth of historical imagination, or there's a death of historical imagination and global ambition. There is no Churchill, no de Gaulle, no Adenauer. Current political discourse is dominated by narrow perspectives, he noted, referring to post-World War II giants. Quote, Europe's lack of global ambition makes for excessive reliance on America as a security provider and makes the American public more skeptical of Europe. On the U.S. side, this is interesting. He said, on the U.S. side, he said the $3 trillion Iraq war hobbled its economy and delegitimized its authority. Quote, just think of the recent UN vote on Palestine's status. The Americans organized a worldwide diplomatic effort to prevent it from happening. And out of 190 countries, it gained 7 supporters, he said. So that's interesting that he talked about how Israel is isolating the Americans or whatever. So I don't know what's up with Zbigniew Brzezinski. He's weird. Not weird, but I mean he's an interesting character. And then of course you have Greta Van Susteren. She was championing stand your ground law. She's saying, I don't see the difference between stand your ground law and just standard self-defense. And she was attacking concepts of social engineering. It's nice to see that in the news. But then again, you know, is this all smokescreen for that? Is this all smokescreen for that bigger stuff that's happening in the background right now? You know, of course it is. Let's see. Terry says, they have been in Cuba for several months. From Russia, apparently today was the day they hit the mainland. Wonder when/if they go off. There's nothing important about the ship that got caught, no, other than it happened to be used as a decoy. You have it. You don't trust Rolling Stone. Yeah, I think Rolling Stone may very well be, yeah, I mean, there's no way that they would... I mean, but they have been kind of like friendly to what looks like the resistance recently. Let us see. No, not here. Egypt. It does look like we're making a lot of progress. Then they had this woman, this African-American woman. Her name was Glenda Hatchett on... it might have been CNN actually, and she was a judge or a former judge, and she was clearly, you know, taking up the same mantle. The verdict was wrong. The verdict was wrong, and yeah, something like that, something similar to that, and that is way too frightening to think that a judge could actually, you know, just in light of looking at all of the evidence, you know, say that the verdict was wrong. Because what people are not understanding is that the official story actually makes Trayvon out to be a murderer, a racist murderer. You know, when I say official story, I'm talking about what all the evidence indicates. So, you know, the evidence indicates that Trayvon Martin was, you know, not somebody that black people would want to be proud of. That Trayvon Martin was actually violent that he jumped Zimmerman. You know, he did so specifically because Zimmerman was white. He jumped him and he was trying to kill him. And that is, you know, it goes from all poor family in the official story, all poor family to, oh wait, Trayvon was trying to kill Zimmerman. You know, forget about whether or not Zimmerman, you know, shouldn't have engaged somebody that was dangerous. Let's see. And I said, and all the people on the news are saying, you know, something's got to come out of this. Something, you know, all the you know, the people that are trying to justify their, you know, what appears to be a bunch of racism. They're just saying something's got to come out of this, right? Like legislation, like somehow the stand your ground law needs to be taken down, so, which is stupid because that's the very justification that they're saying Trayvon was beating Zimmerman up, right? So, you know, or it has to do with like gun laws, or it has to do with, you know, something has to happen here legislatively for a positive change, for something positive to come out of here. But I said, but everyone is actually learning that reverse racism is the only problem coming to light because of this case. So if anything is being learned, what's being learned is that despite all of the evidence suggesting one way or the other, you have the mainstream media, the president, the celebrities, you have nearly 98% of, you know, black people supporting or you know, disagreeing with reality, supporting Trayvon Martin, who, just by virtue of being black, you know, that's why we're in bizarro world. We're in bizarro world because this single case, I don't know, it just feels like reality's coming apart, basically. Let's just keep going here. Let's see. So I personally looked at that story with that ship being caught, and I was like, you know what, maybe they're trying to make it look like Obama is somehow supplying nukes to North Korea. I don't know, but I think I'm not sure. It could be like a cog in the wheel of something that will turn into a big deal. It could be. I'm not sure. Let's see. Joe Carr on the cover is just falling into the prime directive of generating conspiracy theorists, and that is almost certainly why he's on the cover. Let's see. Somebody posted a great post on GOP mentioning how many operatives have dual citizenship with the United States that are prominent people in the United States. They have Russian and Chinese dual citizenships, and they're all Jews, and by virtue of that racial category, have dual citizenship with Israel. So Israel is kind of like the Rome. It's the seat of the empire. Let's see. You know, just a few months ago, or it could be. It's not necessarily. It's more like America is the seat of the empire, but it's like America is like a host for the Israelis, which are using it as a puppet to you know, constantly build up their what they want to be the seat of their empire. Let's see. You know. So, you know, 2 Colorado senators are trying to fight a recall today, specifically for their support of gun restrictions. So the people of Colorado are, you know, hammering down on these 2 senators who are doing their best to fight the recall, which they tried to do. I'm not sure if it was successful or not, because of their anti-constitutional, anti-gun, because of their new gun restrictions or whatever. Okay, so then I thought, like, you know what? I can't believe that Snoop Dogg, is, he's somebody who's so level-headed. I really expected him to not say what he says here. And, he's come out and he's saying, he's coming out here, and certainly they had to have watched it. But even to watch it in light of all of that, evidence and testimony, you're going to still think that, so this is purely just racially driven. Racially driven. Let's see. Okay, let me take a look at the comments again. Yeah, Kat, if you can make any sense of what's going on with that, if you can make any sense of what's going on with that North Korea ship thing, it's got to be a big deal. But just from what we have right here, I just don't understand. What? The powers that be via the European Union just neutered Israel? What do you mean? Neutered Israel? I'm just going to put in the keyword Israel. Go to the news section. It says Europe raises pressure on Israel. EU was trying to keep funds from flowing to Israel. There's obviously huge things going on here. So what is going on with that? Yeah, were those nukes planted nukes? Were those nukes bombs that were, old? That's why they were 1960s tech. That they were nuclear devices planted in certain key places that were loaded onto the ship, and they were being taken away or something like that. Maybe even purposely caught. So I don't know. I can't understand from what we have what's going on. Let's see. If you would like, it'd be great for the show. You just kind of like threw it out at me or something. All right, let's see. La 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 la. Maybe this has to do with Israel having striked out at Russia recently. Sorry, guys. Let me turn on the news real quick. See what's going on. Everything has been real dead. That should tell you that there must be something going on in a big way, I think, if all they're doing is focusing on stuff like Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman.
She's working hard, though. She's waiting for this baby to pop out, all right? This royal baby.
And now they're talking.
The royal.
And now they're going to be talking about Kate's baby. So it's just a bunch of distractionary stuff. Distractionary stuff, Bay of Pigs, yeah. Well, you know, the Bay of Pigs thing was just a heated event, right? That was about to cause a nuclear exchange. Russia sending nuclear arms to Cuba to negotiate or blackmail America into some sort of thing. Let's just talk about what the powers that be are doing. What are the powers that be doing when that sort of stuff happens? And then Terry, tell me about this. Oh, there's a bunch of comments right now. Let's see. Terry says, more and more the world is turning their backs on Israel. We are very close now. Makes me giddy. Snoop is scripted, methinks, just another part of being played. Yeah, I felt like he was scripted too. Well, not totally neutered, but are beginning the turning of backs part. Sure. Like people aren't trusting him. Let's see. Send link to your Facebook. Okay. And then Sentability 01 says, so they don't recognize the settlements? How are the settlements separate from Israel as a country? Sounds like a half-ass slap on the hand. Yeah, I know. But it's hopefully I think Israel has a lot of physical force that keeps us from being able to do anything more than slap them on the hand. Let's see, Cat Ruby. Yeah, European Union pressures Israel to give up settlement building or else Israel is box dancing it. Terry says, thank Bay of Pigs. Yes, you have it. It's as simple as moving nukes into the U.S. Cuba played a part via Russia. North Korea is a smokescreen puppet and to be used as scapegoat when they pop. Oh, okay. Well, that sucks for us, right? Putting those nukes over there in Cuba. Or LOL used as a scapegoat when they pop. They wrote this one on the wall too, Brink. The clue is what they found on the ship. Alright. Okay. Okay. Is it? Oh my God, bro! I did. You know. Sorry. I love you, but let's see. Let's go ahead and. Damn. What was I going to talk about right before I got distracted? Look, Terry. Does this end up in a nuclear false flag or no? Terry says, a slap on the hand. This is Israel. They take a light slap as a punch in the face. Okay. Okay, hold on one second. Alright. I will say that when it comes to stuff like the royal family, uh, there's obviously a time at which the old people, like for instance, when you look at, say, Prince William, assuming they don't compromise him at some point, or if he isn't already that way, if and when the power ever falls into his hands, I guess we're back. I'm not sure. Let's see. I think the EU is scrambling to separate themselves from the USA NSA scandal. See, we're not total Zionist stooges. Yeah, I'm so glad that you said that. I think it's entirely possible that there was just a bunch of resistance activities occurring, and maybe under the guise of being globalist operations, and consequently, things things got super haywire. Like, people in the know rebelled and did so in a way which appears to have been very clever, and they did perhaps a very good job. And I just wanted to apologize because I ended up doing some investigation, for the first half hour here. It kind of got me a little off balance with the show tonight. Let's take a look, huh? Let's take a look and see. What's going on. But I will say that it is quite interesting to see the, GOP, the Godlike Productions Forum, being so willing to, everything's unpinned now, it's 12 o'clock, being so willing to at least talk about the problem of possibly Israel, playing a major role in subverting the U.S. Constitution, which there's a lot to indicate that's true. Okay. It looks like I have about 9 minutes left. What I'll do is I guess it might be a good thing that there's been so little news, and maybe it's a bad thing. Maybe there's going to be something super bad about to happen. But I'm not too I don't know. Let's see. The Zionists have lost all of their control. You think? I'm not sure. Are you sure that they've done that? You mean the core group of bad guys have almost lost completely? If that's the case, then I don't know what they're waiting on, But it does seem that at least Israel, maybe the people that were behind the Zionist thing, are still in power. But I would say that their project, aka Zion, aka Israel, is in fact being given. They're giving it up. They're giving up on that Israeli project, so to speak. Of course, it's projecting, at least 5 years ahead, though. If they're still in power, they'll pick it right back up somehow. So we have to keep our wits. And, so Kat Ruby, you've been with me for a while in the YouTube thing, and I've always thought that your insight was very valuable, So, what do you think, Kat? What do you think's going on? If you're still watching, what do you think is going on, Kat Ruby? It's like they released some sort of a sleeping gas over here. I'm very, very, very pooped tonight. Not quite sure why. Oh man. I'll tell you what. Let me just look at the So Cat Ruby says, speaking of royals, Prince Charles to be challenged by MPs over his tax affair. Well, that would be nice, right? The Queen croaks, and then Charles gets out of the way, and then we get William in. That'd be great. Terry says, well, no, the cabal, the powers that be, are still kicking, but Zionism has been given up. Yeah, that's what I thought. Let's see. Not too worried while they're working out differences. Not too worried? Like they're working out differences, except Israel. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like the powers that be, this is what I just think. I think the powers that be have become like the old powers that be, perhaps, or whoever it was. Like, you know, there must be something said about these people that may or may not espouse Satanism or Wiccan philosophies or whatever. And, you know, there's a difference between doing that and espousing like freedom or freedom of the human spirit, you know, or freedom of expression or all the varying colors of the rainbow, which is actually like protected by the founding fathers who may have actually been, you know, in some way occultists themselves. So you've got that, you know, regardless of whether or not you believe it. You got that. Now that there's nobleness there, there's nobility there. Something to be protected. Then you've got the, you know, the sort of like, I'm the only person that's free. It's freedom for me to express my tyranny over other people by cutting out their freedom. And that is just the form of, you know, racist, racist, evil philosophy that you would get out of Satanism. And I think that maybe they split hairs recently, and they're kind of like, you know, this is just working within that idea that they're satanic. They're like, oh, whoops, it looks like a tyrannical form of our doctrine took control, Zionism, and consequently subverted, you know, our abilities to maintain the Bohemian principles of, you know, peace, beauty, love, freedom, and consequently, perhaps they're doing what it takes to salvage the power structure, but at the same time free people from some of the more core bad things. But I just I won't know that. There's nothing I think that indicates that that's definitely the case yet. We'll find out. All right. Okay. Looks like we're coming up on the hour. I'm sorry for a relatively like maybe an unsatisfying show, but next time, tomorrow, same time, 1 hour. I hope I didn't lose any subscribers. Bye guys. Take it easy.